All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joan T. Randall, and I am the founder of Victorious You Press. And I am here today with my client, first time author, Caroline, and her good friend, Summer. And we are super excited today because we are talking about all things Finding You, the book. The long awaited book, the book that has been in Caroline's belly for years, that is finally coming out. But before I even get into the conversation with these ladies, I want you, if you are watching me today, right now, whether you're watching on Facebook, whether you're watching on YouTube, whether you're watching on Instagram, wherever you are watching from, I want you to drop a comment in the chat and say, I am here. So we can say hello to you by name. And the next thing I'm going to do is just drop the link for this book right in the chat. So there it is, bit.ly/finding you, the letter U, and 25 for the year 2025. It's very easy. So Finding You 25 is the book that we're launching right now. And I'm super excited to get into this conversation. So again, wherever you're watching from, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Again, you're watching Joan T. Randall from Victorious You Press, the publisher, the founder, the owner, and I have my incredible client here today with her friend, Summer. Don't they look gorgeous? They're so beautiful. I'm so excited. Hey, Steve, it is so nice to have you join us this afternoon. Share this broadcast out because we want this book to be a bestseller. All right, that's the goal, right? Caroline just did her TED Talk, right? So she is famous, guys. So we want her book to be famous too, okay? All right, so again, we just dropped the link there, bit.ly/finding you 25. Once you purchase your ebook, I want you to come right back and say, I got mine. That's all we're asking you to do, just to come back and say, I got mine. Hi, Christina. We are so excited to have you on today. Thank you for joining. All right, so I want to start my conversation with Caroline. Welcome, my love. Tell the audience a little bit about you.
Hi, thank you. Oh my goodness, this moment is amazing and surreal, and I'm so excited. My name is Caroline. I'm 26. I was born and raised in Charlotte, North Carolina. I've spent the majority of my career in philanthropy, and that is where my passion is. I have a 7-year-old boy. And I just recently realized how much I love writing outside of just the journal entries I've been keeping and the diaries I've been writing throughout my whole life, but now getting the opportunity to share my story out to everybody. So that's super cool.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you. And before I continue with my conversation, I just want to say hello to Summer. And I want Summer to take herself off mute and tell us a little bit about herself so you know who is in the room. Go ahead, Summer.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Summer Dice. I am Caroline's friend. I also met Caroline through a mutual contact who actually knew my history with some of what the book touches on. I have a certification in the neurobiology of trauma. I also taught on sexual assault prevention education and some other points that kept us close from the beginning. So it's been good.
What? I had no idea who I had on the call today. So that's awesome. So I may have some thrown in questions for you, Summer. All right. Please. So don't be surprised if I just throw questions in. All right. Okay, guys. Again, if you are joining us and you are watching today, we are launching our book. I call it our book because Caroline's book is also Victorious You Press's book. So we're launching our book, Finding You, this riveting story written by Caroline, the author. And so, Caroline, why did you write this book?
Well, I started writing Finding You without really realizing I was writing a book. It was a form of therapy for me, writing out my story and what had happened to me. And then I kind of just started writing things that were going on in my life. And it helped me feel more like a person because as I was healing from this traumatic event, I was having trouble keeping in touch with reality and who I was, and making sure that I was still grounded and I still had my feet on the floor and I was still present in life around me. So I was writing about my experiences. And the more I wrote, the more I felt comfortable to talk to other people and realize that other people had experienced the exact same thing. And it was more taboo to talk about. So I wrote it out in a fictional story, and I changed people's names and I changed certain facts just to bring in everyone else's story to this book. And it was super therapeutic and healing for me to write. And it's also been amazing. I've always been someone that finds my strength in silence. If I silently struggle, then that means I'm strong. But through writing this, I learned that my strength is actually in my voice and speaking to others. And as I speak up, it helps other people become more vulnerable and speak up as well. And that's how change is made. So writing this book has been so much more than just a book and a story. It's really been impacting my life and the people around me as well.
I love that. I love that. I want you to tell how you got connected to me.
I'm big into networking, part of my career. Also, I just love people, so I want to know everyone. And I had written this book. I had finished this book, but I had never worked in the writing world or publishing. So I literally just asked every single person I knew at any meeting, regardless of what the meeting was about, if they knew any publishers in Charlotte. And a lot of my network knew non-fictional publishers because that's the type of writing that my network had done in the past. But finally, after asking, I met this woman, Julie Jones, who had worked with you in some sort of women's mastermind group. And she was like, I think Dr. Joan Randall does publishing. Let me connect you with her. And you and I emailed you. We had one meeting and it was like, that was it. I knew. I was so excited.
I'm so happy to hear that. And you know what? The most important thing as a business owner is to have somebody refer you, right? Mm-hmm. It's when you get that referral is when that person say, you know what, here's this person, I've had interactions with them and this is good. And this is a person that you can use. And I am so happy that you chose us. We don't take it lightly. We don't take it for granted that you choose us. And I love stories. I love the fact that, you can go through difficulties in life, and through those difficult times, you can stand on the story as a platform and just rise from the ashes, right? Because diamonds have to go through the fire to be able to have their sparkle, right? Grapes have to be stomped on for wine. Olives has to be pressed for the olive oil, right? So the amazing thing is that your story is now the catalyst for which you stand on, and lives are going to be changed based on it. So congratulations to you for that. Who would you say this book is for, Caroline?
That's a great question. I think that it's definitely geared towards women because the traumatic experience that I speak about, sexual assault, is more common in the workplace, especially is more common with women. But I was speaking to a big group of people today, and it really resonates with any sort of traumatic experience that you're going through, and dealing with life through it and healing through it. So I think so many different people, if you've experienced any sort of hardship, which we're human, we all have, you can really resonate with the raw emotions and how the healing is not an upward trajectory. It's dirty and messy, and you don't always feel positive and hopeful. But it's still possible if you go through that messy point. So everybody,
yeah,
adults, but yeah.
That point, right there. Yes. Yeah. If you don't mind, I want to bring Summer into the conversation just to get her to say from her brilliant mind. I didn't realize that we have this brilliant person on this platform with us, but I want you to tell the audience, how did you meet Caroline?
Okay. So sort of what I mentioned before, we had a mutual connection who knew my history with the neurobiology of trauma, knew that I had worked with folks in tight spots, whether it be somebody was assaulted or they don't know what happened to them, but they want to talk about it, or they don't want to talk. They just need someone who's going to understand what's going on to them. And this mutual connection immediately just brought us together. That let me, use some of my strengths, and then also let Caroline, I would say, if I don't want to speak for her, but let me know, Caroline, if I'm off base, let her kind of fall into some of the intense feelings she was having at the time. And, sometimes it's just an ear. Sometimes we learn in how to support folks who are dealing with a traumatic event, regardless of what that event is. I really want to highlight that. One of the things when we study that type of trauma is that trauma doesn't care, what your previous history is. It doesn't matter whether you have struggled with something for years or if it's brand new. Trauma takes the map of your brain and just messes with the whole dang thing. And a lot of what people don't realize about trauma is they put certain types of trauma on a pedestal. And that was one of the things that Caroline and I talked about very early on that I think made it a little more accessible, made the grief accessible and the tangible emotions a little bit more readily available to label, was to acknowledge that there is no podium for trauma. Everybody experiences it in their own way. And there's a lot of really reasonable reactions to trauma.
I love it. Wow. That is profound. And as you're talking, I want to call you Dr. Summer for some reason, but but as you're talking, my own story came to life because I'm a domestic violence survivor. And nobody tells you that years later, those things still, a sight can trigger it, a sound can trigger it, a smell can trigger it. So just having someone to be able to walk you through those components as you travel onto your healing is so important. It's so important. I want to say congratulations to Jefferson, who bought his copy. We are so excited. Thank you so much. I'm going to drop the link one more time. Again, there it is, bit.ly/findingyou25. Go ahead and secure your copy right now. This is the time for you to show support for Caroline, because we want to make sure that this book hits it on the bestseller list, right? And that's how you get to the bestsellers list, from the ebook. So we want to make sure you are supporting her. Summer, tell me, what has the relationship been like between you and Caroline, with the similarity in some of the things that you guys have experienced?
Great question. I think sometimes in survivorship of any trauma, there's an acknowledgement from each person. Sometimes it looks more humorous, like the Spider-Man meme, where you're just kind of like, no, you did this, I did this happened to us. And there's a strong sense of community that comes from that when you get a chance to show a level of respect to each other and acknowledging the experience that either of us had dealt with. Now, we come from different backgrounds, we have very different stories, but as we got to know each other through this process of, her asking me about trauma, me explaining some things that have happened to me, we formed our own sense of community. And at that time, it was just kind of just the two of us in that community. And then as she started writing and started talking to more people, I would hear more about other folks' stories. And then I would lend a hand for how trauma support looks and what responses look like. And through that, the walking, I don't know if she's told you, this girl, I have done some serious trails in my life. You can see behind me, hundreds of miles. This girl has walked 20-something miles in a day for weeks on end, writing as she went. So she would say, hey, I'm going to go for a walk. And I joined her for 6 or 7 miles. And she's like, I'm going to keep going. I'm writing. I said, okay, that's fine. So despite us both having kind of a love for physical fitness and a chance to really better ourselves, she absolutely takes it to the next level. I journal, she writes a book. I walk, she walks a marathon. So Caroline definitely has a strong sense of amplifying what's around her and then making it her own. I think that would be one of the strongest tenets of our friendship, is the fact that we walk an inordinate amount.
That is fantastic. I need to join that walking group, because God knows I need it.
We're happy to have you. Maybe that's what's next for the book, is a level of, hey, we read, we walk, we talk.
Love it.
Honestly, I just want to add, in meeting Summer and forming our relationship, this is just so real and raw, but we were connected through a text, and I had said, "Hi, I'm Caroline." She said, "Hi, I'm Summer." And that was pretty much it. I knew nothing other than her history and knowledge and background. But like you said, Joan, there's a sound, there's a smell, something triggers you. And this was early into my healing journey. And I went to a location, I heard something in Charlotte, and I was trying to go there for a meeting, and it just triggered this sense of panic. And I was having a panic attack alone in my car. And normally I had just gone through them by myself, but I realized I had this woman's phone number in my phone. So for some reason, I just called her. I had never met her. And she showed up 5 minutes later, and we stood outside and paced a little bit to get those feelings out and talked. And in that moment, yes, we had the sense of understanding each other, but we also had so much in common. And it was just one of those moments where that was one of the first times that I had really talked to anyone else, and found that there was so much strength in speaking. And I was more healed after that day because I spoke, and it wasn't met with judgment. It was met with understanding, and I felt less alone. So our friendship really did have that foundation of, I'm here no matter what. And it was amazing.
Oh my God, that's amazing. That's what an incredible story that is. And just the experience of having her there 5 minutes. Those are the friends that we need around us. That's the level of friendship that is needed, right? She never met you, but she came. That's incredible. That says a lot about who she is.
I feel like the book, not to give too much away, but I feel like the book also offers that perspective of feeling that Caroline was describing of like, and perhaps in your experience, Joan, you would acknowledge in domestic violence or in other situations, there's an internal panic, and you don't necessarily get to control when you panic or from what or who's there, but you can control who you call. You can control if you get a chance to reach out to someone. And one of my favorite things about the book is acknowledging the relationship between victim, survivor, self-proclaimed, right? And who they lean on and how and what that looks like. And that's very hard to describe when you're in it. It's also really hard to explain to folks when a good resource is a good resource. You don't have to have a certificate in the neurobiology of trauma. You don't have to have taught grad students or be a psychiatrist to be able to be there for someone. And I think that that's a pivotal piece for a lot of survivors, is being able to find someone who's going to be there for you in 5 minutes.
That knowing that you can trust that person, it's that safe space. So important. So important. Summer talked a lot about you walking and writing and, jogging and writing and, hiking and writing. Caroline, talk to me about the experiences you had as you were penning this book. What was that like?
As I was walking?
And writing, as you were writing the book, what was the experience, the writing journey?
Well, one of the things that I needed was movement. When I felt like I wanted to crawl out of my skin and leave my body, the only way that I could get away is just moving. So the more I walked and the more I moved my body, and I know that that's something that a therapist shared with me. It's just that panic is an overabundance of cortisol in your body. So movement helps dissolve that and get that out. So as I wrote, it also made me feel free. I could put a hat on, I could put sunglasses on, and no one would see my face as I'm bawling, writing these things out. And it was that first step that got it out of me, out of my head, out of my body. The first day that I wrote about the incident itself was the day that I slept through the night for the very first time since it had happened, which was very telling to me that what I was doing was so helpful. And so that is why I walked for 20 miles, because I was so sucked into writing out everything. And 20 miles doesn't feel that long when you're writing something that matters to you. I don't know how I made it that far. Even today, I walking and writing is now a part of my whole personality, I guess.
Wow, that is unbelievable. I'm going to have to share that with my writing class, honestly, because that is amazing. I've given tips all the time when people get a writer's block. I've given tips about how to overcome that, but I never thought about the walking part of it at all.
I think it's like a change of scenery. You know, when you
Yeah.
have something you want to say and you don't exactly know how to say it, I could easily look up and see all of these different things around me, and it cleared my head and took that block away. So I think that I got the luxury of not just sitting at a desk and my body being sedentary and having the same surrounding, but having all new surroundings, and it helped with the creativity. So I find it
That's
very helpful.
amazing. That is amazing. All right. Again, we just want to say hello to everyone that's joining us. It's nice to see you, Christina, Jefferson, Celeste. Thank you for joining. The link is in the chat. Please just click on the link and go purchase this ebook. It's only $2.99 for the promotional price. In a couple of hours, it will go to $9.99. So we want you to purchase it today, and then just come back and let us know that you did purchase the book. And I want to say hi to Angela and Mitchell. Thank you for joining. Hey, girl. Hey. So it's so nice to see you. All right. Let's talk about the story. So, we've kind of been like skirting around the story, right? So the last time I interviewed you, right, we didn't say anything about what he was, right?
Yeah.
We like, oh, let's go around the circle. But today is the day. So tell me a little bit about the story, including the backstory. Give us what we are getting ready to read.
Yeah. So the book starts with a woman who is at the lowest point in her healing journey. And she's at a work event. So life is still happening around her. She still has to be on and greeting people and talking to them when all she wants to do is look at the concrete floor and curl up on it, which is so very relatable. Even today, I still feel those feelings of wanting to just see the floor and curl up right there and not have to do the work in the world around me. But it takes you flashbacks as the book goes, as she's living her life. She gets those flashbacks of two different things. The night that she was sexually assaulted in a work environment, and then when she tried to get more evidence. So she, a few months later, ended up trying to record him admitting to it, because also often these moments are he said, she said. And so it was amazing to see Elise when she found out she wanted to share and get away. She wanted to do it in a way where she had the most chance for success to get away and get evidence and make sure that not only would people believe her, but she could get the justice that I think she deserved. And so we have those flashbacks, and that, recording in and of itself was traumatic, because you have to, not only are you working with the person that assaulted you,
When I was reading that part, I'm like, whew,
like, let's be so real. Like that's a new trauma. And she knew what she was doing. She absolutely knew what she was doing. And that it would be so hard. And she gave herself a support system so she wasn't alone, but she still had to go and be with her assailant and then bring it up and hear him say what happened, which is just so awful. But she did. And she was able to report him with the evidence that she had gotten from recording him over the phone. And then it was kind of her life afterwards, and that journey of not being able to tell anyone, even her closest friends, to blurting it out to strangers and realizing that there were people in her life that she wasn't expecting to become really core people that supported her and helped her through it. Her relationship with her friends, and finally being able to tell them, and living life and finding joy again and finding new versions of herself. She wasn't as immediately trusting and carefree as she was before, but she formed, I think, stronger trust in the people that she did trust, and was able to learn how to protect herself when she couldn't in that moment, and lean on people around her, because healing is, in my experience, impossible alone, truly impossible alone. And when you try to do it alone, it's exhausting and the more she spoke to her friends and formed these new relationships and accepted other people into her life, she was able to find joy and find the missing pieces of herself that she felt was so unable to grasp, which is, another reason we call the book, it's called Finding You Beyond Broken Pieces. And if you haven't had the opportunity to see the cover, I wanted a woman that had missing puzzle pieces in her and was reaching out for new pieces to reform a new version of herself after trauma. So she gets to have these journeys and build these relationships. And ultimately, she, opening up to the world around her, finds love in a place that she never expected to, which is so awesome. Good for her.
So awesome. So awesome. Oh my God. What a book. What a book. I remember my editor calling me and said, "Joan, did you read this book?" And I'm like, "Yes, I did." She goes, "Oh my." That's all she said. She goes, "Oh my." And she didn't say, "Oh my," because of the story. She said, "Oh my," because a word just kept coming up over and over and over again, right? It was so hilarious to me. She just said, "Oh my." It was so funny. I think I'd said it to you, Caroline.
You did. Yeah. I said, I did not hold back in this book at all. The words are blunt and raw, and yeah. Yep.
And that's what makes it authentic. And that's what people can relate to, right? Because we don't live in a world that's just fluff, right? Our reality is not fluff. And when you write a book, you have to tell the story, right? You've got to tell the raw story. And so that's what I love about the book. That's how amazing the book is. I want to say hello to Lisa Richmond, and I want to say hello to Pastor Lexi Johnson. So happy to have you join us. This is Caroline's book. We're launching today. As a matter of fact, it's already launched. So the link is in the chat. It's bit.ly/findingyou25. Please go and download this ebook so we can get her on the best-selling list. I'm going to come back to you in a little bit, Caroline, for you to read an excerpt from your book. And I want to just go to Summer for a minute. Summer, in your own words, describe what you feel about Caroline. How do you see her? What is your perception of her? So the audience who's buying her book and can kind of get an idea, right? Especially if they're seeing her for the first time.
Yeah, sure. I think this is a good opportunity. You rarely get to see what an author is like besides the cover or the inside sleeve. I don't know what the case is for the physical form. I've only downloaded the Kindle, but I'll get there. I think Caroline, so you have to understand, right? I experienced Caroline in a really unique way, and our friendship has grown from that. So that moment aside, I would say Caroline is, in Charlotte anyway, sort of locally world famous. Any time we go anywhere, Caroline's like, "I know them. I remember them from middle school. Where were we the other day?" I remember somebody from middle school. There's people she knows personally. There's professionally. There's the crossover. And I don't think we've ever left the house or been somewhere and her not known someone. Now, I think you get that a little bit when somebody's popular, but I think for Caroline, it's more her sense of community. And I feel like that's every single day Caroline is adding to her chosen family. She's adding to her community or to someone else's. I don't think she's ever stopped doing that. I probably started when she came out of the womb and hasn't stopped, because even in something where like she's accomplished this book, right? She's published, she's so proud, as she should be. And even today, she's got a huge day with this launch, and she's asking me about the stuff going on in my life. She's making sure that I'm okay 15 minutes before we hop on live, and it has nothing to do with her. And to me, that's a very defining trait for someone, not just in general, but in our generation, who's also accomplished, who's also making waves in personal and professional ways. And then you have someone who, you know, comes up against that in how she wrote and what she's looking at to do next, Caroline. And to me, that shows that she's grounded, right? There's a little bit of reality in how she writes. There's a little bit of reality in how she carries herself in making that community. It's not just professional or just personal. It's very real, like the words that she uses in the book. It's very cut through the red tape, very honest. So that's how I would describe her: locally world famous and very community oriented.
I love it. Thank you, Jeremy. Jerry said, I brought my copy. Awesome. Awesome. So before I get back to Caroline, and I want you to find the part of the book that you're going to read for us in a second, but what are two words, Summer, can you use to highlight her values? Like if it came down to two words from a value perspective, what are those two words you would use to describe her?
Oh man, I just used community, and I feel like that's a big one. I'll lean back into it and maybe try and bring up an additional one. But I always know where I stand with Caroline, and it's always like strong and forthright. So I want to say that because she expresses herself so clearly and conscientiously, right? Like she's not just coming in here and insulting me, right? She's just very like clear cut. I would say that it's like forthrightness. There's a level of honesty and transparency that comes with being around Caroline that evokes it from me as well. Like, and you can see it when she's around other people. Forthrightedness and that chosen family, maybe even above community. The book shows it. If you get into there, I mean, obviously I'm invested in the secondary and tertiary characters, but chosen family and that strength that comes from being really forthright.
I love it. And I'm just going to throw my two words in only because I've dealt with her now over the last, what is it, like 6 months, 6 months, right, Caroline? You're very intentional and you're very disciplined. So that is what I love about you. And the reason why I say you're very disciplined, you went into this thing like a bulldog. I mean, like, just like find anything I ask of you, right? You did it, right? Even if it was down to the wire, you got it done. And I love how intentional you are. You were very intentional about your cover, what you wanted your cover to be, right? There's a lot of back and forth with that. Oh, yeah. Right. You were very intentional about how you want the internal part of your book to look, especially where people had to use words, right? Where you had the dialogue. And so I love the discipline. I love the intentionality. You were not on the fence. You were, this is what I want. This is what I expect. This is what I'm looking for. This is what feels right to me. And that's what I love about you. You knew exactly what you wanted. So for me, the two words would be intentional and discipline, which are really powerful words for leaders and, authors and TEDx speakers. All right. And all the other things that you will be doing in the future. So I want to turn this segment over to you and have you read an excerpt from this amazing book, Finding You, Beyond Broken Pieces.
Do we have does anyone have any suggestions? Should I read like chapter 1 or should I read somewhere in the middle?
Just read wherever you want. Just read one paragraph of probably the part that leaves us on a cliff, like a cliff hanging piece.
Okay, sorry, I didn't know I was going to read an excerpt.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, if I may, I really like when you're talking about, I'm selfishly, Paige.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I like that. I'll read the moment where Elise first tells her friend for the first time, her best friend for the first
time. Okay.
That's chapter 8. So I'm just going to go there really fast. So sorry.
It's
okay. Okay. I looked down at the GPS telling me I was 2 minutes away. I was still getting to know this part of town, though I could tell I'd been around here before. My meeting was in 20 minutes and I was happy to be arriving early. I can't wait to live closer. These hour drives for work are getting ridiculous. Aside from James not knowing where I lived, focusing on the positives of moving helped me think about anything other than him. It helped me be a person outside of him. I pulled into the parking lot of an office building that felt all too familiar. I parked and cautiously crept out of my car, walking towards the main entrance. Suddenly, it all came flooding back. Click, clack, click, clack. Elise, he can't get inside. Plus, he thinks we're at the airport. I want to ravish you. Daniel, he knows where I live. Our voices filled my mind and my heart started to race. It was like I was there again. I didn't realize that this was the same building that Daniel's office was in, where we recorded him. I looked at the front door, frozen, petrified. My stomach rose to my throat. Oh no, not again. I frantically reached for my phone in my pocket, immediately pulling Daniel's contact up. Fuck, I can't call him. Shit, my heart started to race faster and faster, and I could hear my breath. I couldn't do this, not here. It wasn't stopping. I stepped to the side of the door and gripped the wall of the building. Shit. I opened my contacts, desperate, hitting Paige's name without another thought. She answered before the first ring even finished. Hello, gorgeous, she sang out. I couldn't catch my breath to respond before she said, oh my God, are you okay? What's going on? Paige, I spit out, holding onto the wall for dear life. I'm tracking you. You're 4 minutes from me. Hang tight. I'm on my way. I could already hear her bustling around in the background before the call ended. I grabbed my stomach and settled into the concrete beneath me. I held my knees to my chest and tried to my best to breathe. You're safe. You're safe. He isn't here. Paige is coming. Paige and I had been friends for a decade. We met in our early 20s, and although she was a bit older than me, we eerily had everything in common. For 10 years, she was my person. I knew she would never let me fall if life ever kicked me down. The way she was unequivocally there for me right now, no questions asked, was how she was from the first day we met. I looked up just in time to see her leap up the stairs and envelop my body with hers. Elise, what's going on? Her voice was frantic and filled with concern. I'm so sorry. I buried my head in between my legs as she rubbed my back, sitting there with me. I continued as she sat, patiently listening to each word. I should have told you months ago, but I couldn't. If I told you, it was real. But it is real, and I'm just so fucking scared. What's real, hun? James. Your old boss? Didn't you leave that company in March? Yes. Elise, why did you leave the company? You told me you just wanted to focus on your own business. I know. I did. I cried out, unable to hold back my shame. I lied to you. Something happened. What happened? Okay, I guess I'll end there.
Woo. Listen, even how you read it, there was a lot of emotions being stirred. Wow. Listen, you want to get this book. Hey, Jacob, nice to see you. Thank you for watching from Ghana. So great to have you on joining us this afternoon. Girl, you already gone international. This is amazing. This is amazing. Again, if you have purchased a copy of the book or downloaded it, please drop it in the chat so that we can say congratulations. And as you are reading this book, right, because you have the ebook, don't forget, after you've completed reading the ebook, to go back to Amazon and leave a review. All right. We want to leave reviews on Caroline's page because reviews allows Amazon to suggest the books to other readers. All right. So it's very important to get reviews on Amazon. Right. So as you read it, and you finish today or tomorrow, just go back and leave a review on her page on Amazon. Wow. That was such a cliffhanger. Summer, as you're listening to the book, and I know you've read it because you're invested in it, what are your thoughts about this book?
You have to understand, I've been here for each of the parts of the process. So I know I have more than just a mild vested interest in it. It's why I'm here. But I mean, even hearing her read it, I know where she is in the story. And I'm like, just keep going.
I know. I was like, say it.
Oh,
just stop.
I think one of the things that and again, Caroline, correct me. One of the things Caroline struggled with as she went through it was figuring out where truth was going to become fiction, and then like aligning the importance of accessibility for the book. Because I think ultimately, besides getting out those feelings and making sure that it was honest, in clarity and in like a journalistic way. She also wanted to make sure that people got it. Like, is that clear? Was a lot of the question over and over again she gave. Is that clear? How do I say this without saying this? And, you know, having those conversations and acknowledging what the book really talks about. I think that the strength of the book and how I see it, and again, very unique perspective, is the importance of how informed it is from a trauma perspective and a survivor perspective. We see how these pieces intersect from how our main character, Elaine, experiences what she does and then how she reacts in the book. These are very realistic responses. To me, the beauty of the book is that's hard to do as an author. It's hard to do as a survivor. It's hard to do you have this voice in your head when you're going through it and it's saying, no, that's not okay. I shouldn't feel that way. I should be fine. I'm stronger than this. I've been through harder things than this, different things. And it really, the book level sets that in Elaine's experience, how she navigates it, both with Paige and with friends and her romantic interest and locations and smells and sounds. And trauma is like that. It is pervasive. It exists on each of the levels of our senses, and the book does that too. And I think that is the most powerful component, is acknowledging the intersection of survivorship and trauma and the reality of navigating your life beyond that. There's going to be romance in the future. There's going to be friendships that develop, friendships that fall apart. Love and loss is tied into trauma. There's so many components that make this book really multifaceted, and to me they come down to that connection, and that there's no right way to go through a traumatic experience. There's no realistic response, right? I'll leave this tidbit as my kind of fun fact for folks. We have a way of describing when victim survivors of sexual assault, whether that's on one side of the spectrum of being maybe inappropriately groped or harassed, and on the other side of maybe like a violent rape. Trauma doesn't care where it comes from, right? That hierarchy I was talking about before, there is no hierarchy. And you can respond by maintaining homeostasis or by what a parent might call acting out. That looks like making new friends, looking for romance, or hiding from it, being more seclusive and acting more like a recluse. It's such a complex place. I agree, Lisa. Thank you. I see that trauma is so complex. We do get a chance to acknowledge what exists within ourselves, almost to the point of like caveman brain. And like one of the many texts that's lauded in this industry, in this area, the body keeps the score. We do remember those things long after, and our body remembers it even when we're cognitively through it, when we've processed it, right? When we're on the other side in therapy, and or not, right? Whatever path suits you. I recommend therapy. But seeing Caroline kind of go through those paces and do that while building this novel and being able to use that in the line between fact and fiction, and the book do that all on its own, right? Like there's so many pieces that make it good. And to me, though, that intersection is the most important.
I love it. And I know, right, whether they're watching today or they're going to watch the replay or they're going to see this a week or two or a month from now, right, there's going to be someone that has experienced this, right? I know that there are people watching right now that may have experienced it, right, and is grappling with their own insecurities around it. Where did I Oh, knowing that, Caroline, what do you hope people will get from this book?
I hope that people will find strength in speaking up and courage. It's interesting. Today is a big day for me. Aside from releasing this book, it means a lot to me because this marks an anniversary of the day that I reported my assailant. And if you asked me a few days ago, when I learned that the justice that I wrote in the book is not the justice that I will be seeing in my real life, I would have said, oh my gosh, one of those highs and lows of healing. Why did I speak up? Why did I say anything? I didn't get what I thought I was going to get. But I can so confidently say that I have zero regrets for anything that I've done. One of my friends asked me when I was feeling upset, do you like who you are today better than you like who you were a year ago? And I can so quickly and avidly say, absolutely. And I hope that people read this book and find their own strength in speaking up, that regardless of the outcome, that healing and becoming a stronger, better version of you is well worth any of it.
Did we just go dark just now?
I think you froze, but we stayed.
Perfect. All right. That's good. I don't know what's going on. I see like my internet may be doing some weird things, but are you still with me? You guys with me? Okay, beautiful. We are going to keep going. I wanted to put this on the screen because when I said what I said about other people may have gone through some of these experiences and grapple with their own sense of, what happened. And here we are. And I know her really well. So I know she's speaking just from her perspective. And she said, I have. So I wanted to put that on the screen. And today, I just hope, Lisa, that you will get a copy of this book because you and I know what you have experienced. We're launching a book at the end of this week on Saturday, an anthology. She is in it and she writes a little bit about her story. And there's a lot of stuff that she experienced. So I experienced domestic violence. There's trauma when it comes on to this. And so I'm so proud of you, Caroline, for putting out this book for such a time as this, for those who may have experienced it and just never said anything, to now have the courage to speak. Mm-hmm. Because talking to Summer and Summer being able to help you and assist you is really what made the difference, I believe, in your life. So I'm so happy that you're doing this book. Mr. Jacob said it's purely true, and this is a man. Okay, so it's amazing. And Lisa says she will definitely buy the book. Now we are coming down. We still have some time, but I want to get into a little bit more just from Caroline's perspective. Why was it so important to share the story?
Like I've said, I feel like throughout this live, my perspective changed from that strength is in my silent struggle to the strength is in my voice. And I never wanted to be somebody that was known for being a victim. Especially for something like this, especially in the working environment, because it's so taboo. And I didn't want people to look at me differently, not hire me, not work with me, for all of these different reasons, talking about it, bringing it back up, continuing to be scared. And for me, it was so important that those not be reasons that hold me back from talking, because they are so surface level. And because we aren't talking about it, those reasons still exist. It is taboo because it's so scary to bring up. So if I just take this leap of faith and start talking about it and not worry about what everyone thinks about me when I've shared, then maybe someone else will have the strength to speak up, and someone else, and then it is no longer this taboo subject. And I think the reason that especially this problem, and especially in the workplace where, you're trying to fit in and not make waves, it's not discussed because, and I think that the problem keeps perpetuating because no consequences. There aren't any consequences. And the more we speak up, and whether that's criminal justice or social justice or, people finding out, getting fired, anything that can happen, any awareness towards the subject and towards the assailant, I think is positive, making sure the people in their world know what happened and what they did. And that is just honestly still a journey that I'm going through even now. And Finding You was my way of trying to encourage other people to do the same thing, because it is so scary. But when you have a community, it's so much less scary. Yeah.
I love it. So if you're just joining us or joining us for the first time this afternoon, we are talking about the debut of Finding You, Caroline's book, and we're so excited that it launches today. I think on April the 4th, Caroline will be live doing her book signing. So I'm so excited about it. And we just want you to go to the link. I just dropped the link again in the chat. It's bit.ly/Finding You, the letter U, 25. Go ahead and get your promotional copy of the ebook. It is only $2.99. That is really only a temporary price. It will change in another couple of days or so. But we want to get her on the best-selling list because this book needs to be an international bestseller. People need to buy it. It's for such a time as this. It is about a woman who went through a traumatic experience and finding the strength to speak about it and seek justice and stand on the very same thing that she was ashamed of, to launch herself into this amazing position that she is in right now. So go get a copy, go download the copy. And I want you to also share this link on your platform so somebody else can see it and purchase a copy as well. I have a few more questions for these ladies as we are wrapping this up. And I think I'm going to go to Summer. And Summer, if you were to encourage someone to buy this book, what would you say to them?
I would ask them if they've ever felt like they couldn't say something. I would ask them if they've ever been in a position where they felt silenced or socially uncomfortable to the point of silence. And then to challenge themselves to understand why that was and what it would take in them to change that. Because that's what she goes through. That's what we all deal with on some scope, right? This isn't only for people who've been assaulted. This isn't only for women. This is a chance for people to acknowledge the strength and inner goodness that it takes for someone to rise up past that barrier and become stronger, become louder, become more of themselves, more in tune with what they're capable of. I think anyone who wants to feel that, to overcome that, to grow on their own, it's rare you get to truly grow through a book. And I think this is an opportunity for people to do that.
Yeah. And I can't wait to see the workbook come out for this book, right? Because after you've gone through all of this stuff and let it go, I want Caroline to put a book out where people can work through a guided journal or a guided workbook to really have complete healing. And then how awesome would it be to have Summer be a part of that book too, right? To just like have a whole corner, Summer's corner, right? So that people can take things away from that. So this has been great. And I was just going to answer Jeremy. Jeremy said his book said status pending, but he said it's okay now. So if you're trying to download and that happens, just make sure you have Kindle. Right? Because here's the thing. If you don't have a Kindle account, you won't be able to download the book. It takes 2 seconds to sign up for Kindle. And because it's a app, right? Because Kindle is the app for Amazon. That's their book side of it. That's how you get to read the book. So if you don't have the Kindle account, just go ahead, get your own Kindle account and you download the book and you're good. All right. So, and then Lisa said your story needs to be heard. So yeah, that is absolutely true. Now, Caroline, what is next for you?
Amazing question. All of my brain space has been up to today. I am really just so excited to take this book with my TED Talk and with this book and speaking more to to start talking and be as loud as I've encouraged everyone to be. I'm doing a launch book signing party on April 5th. It's free to come, open bar with the purchase of a book. So for 3 hours, and through my networking, working with mobile bartender Bespoke. For him, he's doing green drinks because they're all themed, because the book is green. My favorite color is green. I live and die by green. So I really am just excited to bring the community that has so been there for me together for this book. I know you asked Summer how it was for her being a part of this process with me, and what that was like. When I tell you, I mean, it was sitting in her office, crisscross applesauce, trying to put an outline together, because we had discussed and decided to really make it a book. And it was our long walks with me reading every chapter to her and us being like, oh, this doesn't make sense. Let me shift it. It was 2 a.m. phone calls and FaceTimes with different friends, and her trying to brainstorm how I wanted the book to end and where I wanted it to go, and if it resonated with people. And so it took a village to not only help me in my real life, but to write this book. So any way that I can give back to everyone that has supported me would just mean the world. And so, I'm also still writing. Obviously, I can't stop. I've been walking. Obviously, I have to write while I walk. So I've created this weird thing about myself. So more books. I'm grateful to write about everything that I've experienced.
That is so amazing. That is absolutely amazing. Well, listen, I want to say I am super proud of you. It takes strength, right? And it takes stick-to-itiveness is a word I made up, but it's really important to me, because you got to stick to it, right? For anything to happen, you got to stick with the thing until it happens. So it takes courage. You're young, right? You're very young. You could be my daughter, right? And I am just so proud of you. I'm proud of from the very first conversation to the very first Zoom call to all the times we have met on Zoom, and just how you continue to just push yourself. It is such an incredible, amount of courage, and like almost the sense of self, like a renewal, right? A resurgence of who you are. And I am so proud that we got the opportunity to give birth to the story on your behalf. And I want to thank my team at Victorious Youth Press. I want to thank your editor, Lynn Braxton. I want to thank whoever created your cover, but the guy who finished the cover back and forth. Oh my God, the back of the cover is amazing. It's even the back of the cover. Oh Lord, it's beautiful.
I haven't seen that yet.
I know you haven't seen it yet. It's gonna come soon, because I think we're gonna order author copy for you, so you can hold it and see it and turn the pages, and then you can go ahead and make your orders. But what an incredible accomplishment. And thank you for trusting Victorious Youth Press to bring this book to life. And for everyone that joined us today, thank you. Thank you for your time. And we're looking forward for her we will get all of the most of the uploads, and all of the results will come by about 10 a.m. tomorrow, Caroline. But I have no doubt that you will make it on the bestseller list. And because we had some people from out of the country, I am hoping that they downloaded it too, so that you can make the international best-selling list. Thank you for everyone that joined. Lisa, thank you for being here. Lisa said your story is going to change so many lives in so many ways. Listen, Summer, you were such a refreshing treat to be here with her. I'm so grateful that you joined. It added so much more depth and level to some of the conversation, because it's one thing for an author to talk about the book, but it's so incredible to have somebody from her community to be able to add value to the conversation. So thank you for being here. And listen, with that, we're going to say goodbye. Thank you all for joining. Congratulations, Caroline. You will be a bestseller, and we'll see you out there sometime in the future. God bless you. Goodbye, everyone. Bye. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Bye.